can have. For example, we have Mr. Mohammed Noor here. He's a member of the Rohingya diaspora. And when it comes to narratives of the Rohingya people, we have been seeing their narratives in the Rohingya crisis. But what I believe is Mr. Noor has produced another sort of narrative in producing a series of initiatives such as the Rohingya Project, the Rohingya football team, a Unicode alphabet for the Rohingya, and in this way, sort of producing a counter narrative about the Rohingya people, a sort of resurgent narrative. And I think this is something really interesting to explore. So, Mr. Noor, I would really like to ask how you believe that this counter narrative can be further projected by the international community and the role that the diaspora have in projecting such narratives.
Thank you very much, Brother Zahir, and thank you to all the panelists. And I really appreciate this forum. I'm going to introduce myself with I am a Rohingya, which Burmese government do not recognize. And my family have been persecuted since 60s and 70s, and they have fled. And now it's till today it's been going on. So only people came to realize since 2012. So I'm just going to roll back a little bit so that we want to put things in perspective so people understand. The word Rohingya itself is come from the word of Rahim. Rahim is in a Persian and Arabic word of mercy. So when there was a lot of ship broken down by the Arabians, traders and saints, they were docked down into Arakan, where they come to a land where they get mercy. So we were the merciful people. Today we are under the mercy of other people, unfortunately. So so Rohingya lives in an estate called Arakan. So Arakan is another word also derived from the Arabic and the Persian word of rukun. Rukun is a pillar. So the plural of the pillar is called the Arakan. So these are the two connected words. So this is engraved into Arakan, into the land of Arakan. That is one of the main reasons that Burma do not like to call Arakan as Arakan, but a Rakhine state. That's why we continuously call them Burma. So these are very, very important points that we need to take into consideration. So before the British, Rohingya existed. After the British, also Rohingya existed. During the independence, we were considered as a full citizens of Burma up until 1962, when General Ne Win took over as a military dictatorship, and Burma from a democracy went to a military dictatorship. From 1962, the Rohingyas genocide, a cornerstone has actually put in place from there. From 1962 to 1972, from 1972 to 1982, after 20 years exactly, they have declared a black law, which is declared the Rohingya is no more the citizen of this country. So they have stripped our right, our birth, our nationality, and everything that belonged to us. That include land, include property, everything that we had. So the rest of the people, they have got some sort of license to kill us, to torture us, to steal and to rob us. So I'm just going as quick as possible. So now, since then, from 1982 all the way up till now, 2012, when another major genocide occurred in Akiab, where have burned down thousands of villages, not one or two, thousands of villages, thousands of people been fled. And Bangladesh became ultimately one of the hosting country, but also the victim of the Rohingya influxes coming down from Arakan to Bangladesh. So these are some of the things that people know, would like to put into perspective. So in 2012, being a Rohingya, we not only been misrepresented into the international audience and international media, we have been misquoted, we have been underquoted, we have been misquoted, we have underquoted. And so that's why Rohingya have started our own initiative, the first world Rohingya media called the Rohingya Vision. Our vision was the first Rohingya voice to bring information out of Arakan, because Arakan is a blockaded place where no media, no journalists, no other international agencies are allowed to access and independently verify and so on. So we made Rohingya, normal, general, citizen Rohingya into citizen journalists, and then get information out of Burma and then broadcast it to the world. So our vision has got a lot of attention in 2012. And from there, we have actually documented many more crimes, including genocide, rape victim, witnesses, and of course, we have also started another initiative called the Rohingya Archive, where we accumulating all these evidences, the serious evidences, as our sister just has mentioned, those women who have seen their children thrown to the fire and their daughters have been raped in front of them, their father has been killed from them. So this is a Rohingya. This is where my family and my relatives are directly involved. So these are the situation that has actually tense. A lot of people only have seen the after effect, which is the brutal killing, the brutal murder, the group killing, and so on. People haven't seen all those footages. What people have seen is the broken leg when they cross Bangladesh. People have seen only the rape victims. So during rape, they haven't seen how hard and how harsh these people had to go through. And on top of that, how many thousands of people been pushed by the boat into through ICAB and went to Indonesia, and many of them sold to human traffickers, and many of them died on the sea, and many of them has been robbed and sold to the fish people on the fish, those who are on the boat. And so these are the extreme harsh condition of the Rohingya, which is have not got enough attention or have not got enough voice, or, to the world. So we are just playing a small part out of that area where we're getting the information and amplifying it to the people. But at the same time, of course, Brother Farhan just now has mentioned in a very systematic way what are the international mechanisms been going on in terms of ICC, ICJ, and IIIE, and fact-finding mission, and so on. But unfortunately, this is also true being a Rohingya. There's no changes on the ground that happening for the Rohingya, unfortunately. So that's what we are now working on. Yes, it is very, very important to look into accountability, to look into protection, to look into security, to look into the well-being of Rohingya in the future. But at the same time, there's one of the largest humanitarian crises that is happening now inside Burma and Bangladesh and beyond that. I will also take a different perspective. So Rohingya is not only a refugee today, Rohingya is also a stateless people. What it means is that no matter how democratic Burma becomes, it's irrelevant to us. No matter how tall building or how democratic Burma become, so Burma do not recognize us as their citizens. So we cannot go back. So refugees are those who have conflict zone like Syria and Yemen and many other countries. If their country become stable, they can go back. For Rohingya, there's a lingering situation forever. We can never go back because Burma do not want to take back so on that note as well, so Rohingya is not Burmese, Rohingya is Arakanese. We are the people of Arakan. We did not go to Burma and invade Burma. Burma has invaded us. This is what we remind all the time. Burma is the one who invaded Arakan. They stole our land. They took our properties. So having said that, we have, so number one, we cannot, so now, being a stateless, so there's a lot of things that has been inherited with us. There's a lot of countries, a lot of people around the world who inherit wealth, inherit knowledge. So Rohingya, what Rohingya inherit? Rohingya, number one, inherit a statelessness. Father did not have document, son don't have document now. His grandson also don't have document. Father did not have a birth certificate, children also do not have, and his grandchildren do not have. And what it comes together also, father did not go to school, now son cannot go to school, and his grandson. So it's a generational statelessness. It's a generational illiteracy. It's a generational poverty. So we have been designed, unfortunately, to rot. Bangladesh camp is, I call it as a pressure cooker. You will never get Albert Einstein and people out of Bangladesh camp. People don't have food. People don't have all those things, and all these problems are been pressuring into the camps, and crimes has been increasing. People are doing all sorts of things to survive and so on. So now Burma is not only, basically Burma has outsourced the problem to different countries. To one of major country now victim of the Burmese genocide is actually Bangladesh, who are now Bangladesh is suffering, and now Malaysia is another one, and India is another one. But Saudi Arabia holds about 200,000 Rohingyas also, and so on, many other countries. So now, so these are also now the responsibility of Malaysia, it's the responsibility of Indonesia and India and Bangladesh now to actually bring these perpetrators, especially the Burmese generals and democracy, including Aung San Suu Kyi, who has been arrested now, which I guess Brother Farhan has already mentioned those things. One thing I think we have to mention is that during this trial in the genocide in the code, Aung San Suu Kyi is the one who is defending the same military now she's been arrested for. So we have to remember those facts and figures. She is the one who said that this is a fake rape. She is the one who said that no villages were burned. She is the one who said no people were killed. She is the one who said there is no genocide. So if some people expect us sympathy from Rohingya, then they are wrong. We will never be sympathized with anybody because they have been torturing us from 1962 up till today. And now we have a forum, now we have a voice, and we will speak it out. So this is one of the speakers. So we are talking to the world. So now, so no matter, so these are very important steps, and this is very important because she has been unfortunately seducing the West and US and the Europe and framing a democracy which has nothing to do with the democracy. Look at the parliament setting, how the Tamado is playing, and now she's also been played or other people played her. Whatever it is, we are the victim. Our homes are being ripped off. Our villages are being burnt down. Our children's are being now lingering in different countries of the world now. So having said that, so now unfortunately, so I'm gonna summarize it in a way. So the Rohingya are now left after 70 years of persecution. Rohingyas are left with multiple problems. I call it boxes of problems. So number one box is a statelessness. So you need countries, you need academia, you need many other people who can open this box and find a solution. Then we have refugee box. Now we have people in different countries in the world. People need food, people need shelter, house, and so many. So this also need different parties to open up this box and fix it. And then you have identity crisis. Rohingya today do not, because of this identity, they cannot travel. Having a birth certificate is a luxury for Rohingya. Having a passport is a super luxury. We never travel. We got smuggled. We've been sold out in the market, in the market of Bangladesh, in the market of Malaysia and Thailand and so on. Like we've been sold like fish, unfortunately. There's a report also done in the same name as called sold as fish. So these are multiple boxes. So we might not solve all the boxes. Some of them are trying to solve the genocide case. Some of them are trying to solve the immediate, like UNICEF and UNHCR, giving all this protection. So we definitely, and we do appreciate all this effort. So what brings me to now, one of the things that people do not highlight is the well-being and of the Rohingya, or a long-term solution for the Rohingya, a sustainable solution for the Rohingya. So I call it, so one of the important factor in this whole boxes, one of them is the financial solution for the Rohingya. Rohingya are now today designed to beg in any country. They cannot go to school, they cannot have education, they cannot have a better life. There's no pathway. There's no pathway for a better life. Every effort has been put in genocide factor. We're trying to figure out how to persecute Burma, how to bring all these generals into justice and so on. But if another 40 years is left undone and without doing anything to the Rohingya, you will not get educated Rohingya who can actually advocate for themselves, who can voice out, who can raise their voice and so on. So this is where we come in. This is where all my projects are coming. So I, being a Rohingya, I like to start some project which is result oriented. So our vision is one. The second project that we are working is a Rohingya project. We're trying to bring financial solution and social solution. So we're trying to build using digital technology. So we cannot wait until everything gonna get fixed, that the whole world gonna crash on Burma, and then we will all go back to our home and we're gonna get back our land and we're gonna back a start. I don't know, it's gonna take 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. So meantime, what we need to do is have some sort of temporary or permanent solution, which is, so we now started something social and financial inclusion platform using digital technology, such as the new technology, which is the blockchain. Blockchain is the underlying technology of all this crypto and so on. So we are using different technology like AI and big data and machine learning and so on, developing the social and financial. So the reason I call social and financial, so once you put all these people on a financial radar, if a Rohingya today, before we go into the solution, you have to understand why it's important. Today, a Rohingya cannot open up a bank account. A Rohingya cannot send and receive money. A Rohingya forget about storing money and any other things. So if we can enable Rohingya, this could be the enabler to the rest of the problem. If we can enable Rohingya who can do some sort of trade using some sort of technology, some sort of way, we give them an access door that to buy and sell and to do this so that they can thrive, they can get their dignity back. And then they can decide if they have money, where to send their children to school, or whether to buy fish or to buy bread. Today, everything is depend. Father, mother, children, all of them queue in line in Bangladesh, in Malaysia, and many other places just for a bread. People are talking about where they're going to send their children in Harvard or in Oxford. We are thinking what we're going to feed at night to our children. This is the difference. So there's a huge, so bringing this social and financial inclusion platform. So we are also introducing something called digital identity. So to do some sort of financial solution, you need an identity. So how are we going to bring identity? So identity is normally given by the state. What happens if the state doesn't give you? Nobody has answered the question. So now we cannot wait until the Burmese government gives us a solution. So we are developing our own solution called self-sovereign identity using blockchain and community verification. So we will use community to verify ourselves and put ourselves on the map and do some sort of transaction. We might not solve all the problem. We are not the antidote for everything. So if we can solve financial and social problem, let's say we can bring some digital financial solution where people can send and receive money and can buy something. And then also now this forum has been conducted online. So now education has been conducted online. We are already physically stateless. We do not want to be digitally stateless too. So we want to bring some sort of educational solution also using technology and so on, using this digital identity, using blockchain technology. So these are some of the important things where we are doing at the same time. Of course, I'm not going to go into how all this started, why China is playing a role, why Russia is playing a role. So just to give you a snapshot, Arakan is a very strategic location for many, many countries, and Arakan has a lot of resources. We are not only persecuted being Rohingya, a lot of people actually translated in this way. We have been persecuted because we are Muslim. We are persecuted because we are Rohingya. We are persecuted because we live in Arakan. We are persecuted because we have some mineral. No, actually, it's like that. We are persecuted because we have minerals. We have one of the biggest and largest gas reserve in Arakan. There's more than 17 blocks been identified onshore and offshore. 2 of the block is now been extracted by the Chinese in Block A and Block 3. So there's a major pipeline it's called the Shui gas pipeline. So there was because being China is one of the largest importer of the petrol product they buy from Iran and Saudi Arabia and Africa, they take all this ship all the way from Indian Ocean and through the Strait of Malacca and through the Philippines and goes to Hong Kong and they dump it to China. It's a very long road and they have some very unfriendly neighborhood like US Army in Philippines and Singapore and so on. So they always looking for an escape road. So Arakan is escape road. So now they buy all this petrochemical from Africa and from Middle East and dump it to Arakan, and using pipeline, they take it. They think that we don't know. We know, and now we are now telling the world. So it's one of the major reasons that we have been facing this problem. So there are many other interests, minerals, and it also an access to the Indian Ocean through Arakan. So there are many, of course, we will have different discussions. So this is what I wanted to emphasize, that now we need to bring some solutions, and we have started some solution. We cannot wait for the solution. So we are started some solution. We need people. So we have been teaming up with multiple, we've been teaming up with University of Washington as an academic partner to look into research, do some sort of feasibility study. We are also partnering with multiple agencies, financial services, social services, that kind of, to bring this platform and to build this ecosystem so that Rohingya can get some sort of dignity back, and some, so they can carry their own burden rather than they become burden to other nation and other people.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Noor. Your words were certainly evocative and they really struck a chord, I believe, Mr. Hussain. There was a question for Mr. Noor, and I would also like, Mr. Noor, if you would like to expand on any points. Would you like me to ask the question first?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is really for someone who perhaps does not have a perspective of the current situation in Myanmar, particularly of the citizens. So someone was actually curious as to why are the general citizens of Myanmar so quiet about the Rohingya people? Why is it that they haven't been able to have the narrative reach them?
Sure. Yes, this is one of the important point. There's a lot of people actually miss out. Part of the genocide campaign was actually manipulating the information to the local people of Burma, saying that the Rohingya came from Bangladesh. So that is the narrative that has been built by the Burmese military and the Burmese government and the Buddhists combinedly put this narrative. So there we have went to many forums during this. So in one of the forum, one of the journalists, a Burmese journalist on an individual account, was asking that why didn't you guys came from Bangladesh and now claiming Arakan to be your land and Rohingyas? Then I told that my dad, I'm just giving a very simple example to understand. Said my dad was born in 1951. My dad is elder than Bangladesh 30 years. Bangladesh did not even existed when my father born. Forget about my grandfather. My grandfather's grave is in Mongdo, in Busidong. My great grandfather's land is still there. So this is a false narrative, saying that because it's a bordering country, then they talk why Rohingya and Bangladeshi speaks the same, Chittagoni speak the same. Every country you go around the world at the border, if you go to Bangladesh, if you go to India and Bangladesh border, there will be same people speaking Bengali in this side and same people speaking Bengali on the other side. If you go to Malaysia, same people speaking in the Thai side Malay, and the other side also Malay. That's how it's everywhere. It is you people who's been only programmed by the Burmese government that we came from Bangladesh. So from 1962, actually, all the textbook, including the academic and all the school books where Rohingya were written, where Rohingya story was mentioned, actually been removed from the history, been removed from all sort of things they have on printed papers, and then made a law or passed a law that the word Rohingya cannot be used anymore in any other, whether it's newspaper, whether it's a radio broadcasting, whether it's a television program or anything. So for the last 40 years, the entire Burmese community, or the Burmese, which is about 60 million over people, been programmed that the Rohingya is actually an intruder. Rohingya came from Bangladesh, and so on. So that is exactly what happened. But we, during our genocide, during the from 1982 all the way to 2012, and after that as well, people have not reacted to the Rohingya genocide when we went marching around the world saying that this is a genocide happening. The Burmese actually took the same people who've been now under the boot of the Burmese military now. These are the same people, these are the same Buddhists, these are the same monks, went to the street of Rangoon and went to the street of many different other countries saying that no Rohingya banner, no Rohingya does not exist, Rohingya. But today we can see some sort of solidarity after seeing the narrative. So one of the reasons Rohingya Vision has a Burmese version also to educate, that go back to a history book, go back to other books where Rohingya has been mentioned 300 years ago, 400 years ago. So now they are coming into their senses. now that what is happening with the Rohingya, it happened with Kaching, it happened with Kereng, it happened now. The Burmese thought that it's not going to happen to them. Now it's happening to them too as well. But it's already too late, unfortunately.
Mr. Farhan, and now I'd like to bring it forward to Mr. Noor, if you would like to have any concluding remarks.
Yes.
Shortly, yes, sorry.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much to all the panelists. So what I would like to emphasize at my last few lines is, of course, having said that, all the international mechanism and the pressure and so on, which need a coordinated effort from all the parties across the world. So it is not a one-off solution, and this is, I believe, is a global responsibility. So it's a responsibility for not only countries, also for individuals like you and me. Whatever, on whatever level we could do something for the Rohingya people, we have to do it for the sake of humanity, for the sake of Ummah, whatever you think you feel is important to you. So it is a greater effort that need to put. So an individual should not wait until some organization or some government take action, and a government and action should not wait. So it has to be individual level as well in whatever. So this is like YPF forum is one of the initiative, and many other voices need to be raised up, and also convert all these voices into some sort of action plan, some sort of how can we give education, how can we give some sort of sustainability, how can and a short-term solution or a long-term solution. So one of the solutions that which we are putting on the ground, there are many other solutions also on the ground. So at the same time, while we push for the long term, short term, all this needed has to be catered as well.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Noor. And finally, Mr. Hussain, if you'd like to give